I was sitting on this hard plastic chair in some airport. I couldn't even name 3 hours of sleep. Eyelids heavy, just waiting to get home when my phone started buzzing like something was on fire. Not a gentle ping, not a single notification. I mean the kind of vibration that sets your teeth on edge, the kind that grabs your gut and twists even if you're 12 time zones away and convinced nothing back home could possibly matter that much. First thing that crossed my mind, if it's work, they'll survive. If it's family, they'll call again. But when I glanced at the screen and saw the same name twice, someone I barely talked to, a neighbor, not a friend, it set off alarms I didn't know I had. The first message. Hey, weird question. That's always a warning sign. Before I could open it, a second came in. Are you renting your cabin now? I just stared. Had to laugh honestly because it sounded so ridiculous. I've never rented that cabin to anyone. That place is where I go to vanish, not a vacation listing. So I texted back one word, a simple no, and sat there watching those three dots dance, then disappear, then show up again. And then another message, no question mark this time, just, there's a family there right now. That's when the whole airport came crashing back into focus, announcements, echoing luggage wheels, scraping, some kid wailing in the distance. I reread the message twice, hoping I'd misunderstood. I asked him what he meant by there. He didn't answer, just sent a photo. My porch. My actual porch. The same warped step I always trip over the railing I'd been meaning to fix for months. Except there's furniture I don't recognize. Bright cushions, a cheap grill, a mat that says happy stay, like it's a bargain Airbnb. My stomach just dropped, not panic, just this slow, sick disbelief. I zoomed in and saw the lock was different, keypad glowing numbers. Not the deadbolt I put in myself. I'd never use anything that runs on batteries to keep people out. Photo timestamp that morning. Which meant whoever they were, they'd been in my place for hours, maybe longer. I stood up too fast, nearly dropped my phone, didn't care that I bumped the guy next to me. I found a quiet corner and called the HOA office, straight to voicemail. I left a message, name, address, said someone was in my cabin without permission, asked for a callback, kept my voice calm, which was more than I felt, email too, urgent in the subject. Didn't matter. Auto reply office closed, check back later. It was the middle of the afternoon where I was dead of night back home. That's when the anger started, not a blow up, but a slow tightening in my chest. I called the property manager, the one I dealt with for a busted water heater last year. She picked up breathless, said my name like a question. I asked, why are there strangers in my cabin? Pause. Not a dropped call, pause, a guilty one. Oh, you're overseas, right? That sentence. That was the switch for me. No apology, just, yep, we know you're out of the country, and powerless. I asked again, slower this time, who was inside my property. She said, a family booked through the association temporary rental. I said, approved by who? She said, the board. I asked when I'd signed off on this. She didn't answer. Started rambling about unused properties, community benefit, how they figured I wouldn't care since I was away. I could feel my knuckles going white on the phone. I cut her off. How did they get inside? Another pause. Maintenance let them in. I stayed silent, not because I was calm, but because I was thinking how much energy it would take to scream across an ocean. I told her to put it in writing. She said she'd call me back. She never did. Didn't sleep that night. Just laid there staring at the hotel ceiling, running through conversations, every version making me angrier. Approve. Maintenance. Bored. Empty words, but somehow that unlocked my front door. Next morning, the HOA president emailed. Not an apology, not even an acknowledgement. My name spelled wrong, then a wall of text about community initiatives and maximizing resources. The only line that mattered. Since your cabin was listed as vacant during your extended absence. By who? I never listed it. I told them I'd be overseas. That's not the same thing as saying, come help yourself, I replied. I did not authorize any rental. Unauthorized occupants. Fix this. Now. Didn't bother with a greeting. An hour later, nothing. I went down to the lobby for coffee, just stood there scrolling, trying to will a response into existence. Instead, I get a text from an unknown number. Hi, this is Lisa. We're staying at your cabin this week. Where are the extra blankets? My coffee went cold in my hand. My first instinct was to write something cutting, but I stopped myself. A second message. Also, the heater makes a weird noise. Is that normal? Now, they're not just inside, they're comfortable settling in. I called the HOA president. He picked up annoyed, said he'd seen my email. Everyone should calm down. The family paid canceling would be complicated. That word again. I asked how they got in. Maintenance on the board's orders. Whose orders? The board acted collectively. I pressed who specifically. He dodged talking about precedent. I told him I am not okay with strangers sleeping in my bed. He said, well, they're already there. That's when I knew this wasn't going away with a phone call. They'd already decided it was easier to let this play out than admit they'd crossed the line. He offered compensation, said it'd have to wait for the next board meeting, which was 3 weeks out. I just hung up, not dramatically, just done. That afternoon, the neighbor texted again, said there were kids now, a dog. Someone had put a sign by the road with an arrow to my driveway. He asked if I knew. I said no, but I'd handle it. That night, I booked the soonest flight home I could get without bankrupting myself. Sat there staring at the confirmation, bone-tired and angry. Flight home wedged between strangers, nothing to do but stew. I kept checking my phone. It never explained itself. Halfway through the HOA, president emailed again, please refrain from any unilateral actions. Like locking my own door was some kind of threat. I replied, property occupied without my consent. I'm on my way. I expect them out. Wi-Fi died. When it came back 3 missed calls from the property manager voicemail, I didn't check. I knew what she'd say. We thought we were helping. The family settled in. Driving them out would look bad. Not would be wrong, just would look bad. I called her back, asked if she'd ever let someone into her house while she was away. She laughed, then realized I was serious. Maintenance has a master key. First I'd heard of that. Another text from the renters. The gate was a little tricky. Is it okay if we leave it open? I laughed, couldn't help it. Leave my gate open, make it easier for strangers. I didn't reply. Couldn't. By the layover, my anger had calcified. I called the neighbor. He said the family seemed nice. The HOA said it was official. He didn't want to get involved. I told him I understood, though I didn't. On the last flight, I shut my phone off. Not airplane mode, just off. Landed late, drove home, didn't go straight to the cabin. I needed a shower, needed to stand under hot water and pretend it might fix something. It didn't. More missed calls. No new info. Next morning up before my alarm burnt the coffee, stared out the window trying to figure out what to do. March in, call the sheriff. Stand on my porch while a family acts like I'm the intruder. I drove up the mountain muddy road, every bump personal. There's a cheap laminated sign by the turn-off community rental property. Arrow pointing up my driveway. I just sat there, engine running, staring. That's when I felt the anger focus sharp. They hadn't just let people stay, they'd claimed my place for themselves. I got out, walked up, the gate was open, kids' voices, music, a dog, everything normal, but it was wrong, I couldn't go in. Turned around, hands shaking. Drove to the hardware store, bought the biggest padlock I could find, no extra keys. At the register, the clerk asked if I needed any cut. No. Didn't want anyone else having a copy. My phone rang, HOA president telling me not to lock the gate, safety issue. I told him I hadn't yet. He told me not to. That was it. I waited until evening, parked out of sight, walked up with the lock. 30 seconds done. The click echoed in the quiet. I didn't feel like I'd won. Just exhausted. I zip-tied a note to the gate, revoked access, walked away. Fallout came slow. Unknown number property manager, more calls than texts. They're saying they can't leave. That's what finally got me to answer. She sounded frantic. I asked how they were trapped. They were inside my cabin, not a pit. She said I was being unreasonable. I asked if she'd leave her gate unlocked for strangers. She said this was different. I asked how. Silence. HOA president called, said I was reckless, that if anyone got hurt, it'd be on me. I asked why renting my cabin without my permission wasn't reckless. He said they assumed consent. I said that was the dumbest thing I'd heard all week. He said to unlock it, or he'd call law enforcement. I told him, go ahead. Silence. Renter called. Didn't answer at first, then listened to her voicemail. She was upset. Not angry, just confused. Told me they'd been told it was official, they had kids, didn't feel safe locked in. I called back. Calm. Explained it wasn't a rental, never had been. HOA didn't have permission. She was quiet, then asked why they'd lie. I had no answer. She asked what to do. I told her I didn't know yet. That night, HOA emailed a formal notice, accused me of an unsafe situation, cited bylaws that didn't fit. I forwarded to my lawyer buddy. He said, don't unlock anything, save everything. I barely slept, kept imagining someone cutting the lock in the dark. Next morning, I drove up and hid out of sight. Watched the family packing up moving bags, quiet, tired. The woman stopped when she saw the lock, sighed, defeated. I felt a twinge of guilt, not enough to open the gate. After they left, I went up, took the keypad off, saw the mess they'd made of the door. Inside, everything smelled wrong. No real damage, nothing stolen, just not mine. The renters left a thank you note apologizing for the confusion. HOA emailed that the renters were gone. Property manager thanked me for patience, almost through my phone. That afternoon, the lawyer emailed tone had shifted, all misunderstanding and resolution. My lawyer friend said, now it gets boring. After that, it just got pettier. HOA deducted lost rental income from my account. I laughed, then got mad all over again. Called, emailed, got a reply. Charge is temporary, pending review. That night, I checked everything again. Next day, I got a violation for bushes being too tall after years, suddenly a problem. Petty. HOA hearing president talked procedures, lessons learned, never wrong. I kept asking who decided to rent my cabin. No straight answers. Someone said I was overreacting because nothing was damaged. I asked if they'd be fine with strangers in their house for 10 days. After that, more lawyer emails, all unfortunate, and moving forward offering reimbursement, asking if I'd unlock the gate permanently. My lawyer buddy, don't give them anything yet. Property manager showed up at my door, folder in hand, forced smile. Said short-term rentals were suspended for now. I asked if that included my place permanently. She dodged. I asked why my cabin was listed. Someone assumed it was okay. Who? She wouldn't say. Neighbor across the street watched from his window, looked away when I waved. Another notice about my truck being commercial. I took a photo, added it to the folder. Every noise at night had me checking. Gate stayed locked, cabin stayed dark. Another lawyer email finalized terms. I replied, all communication in writing. President texted, we really need to put this behind us. I didn't answer. Final agreement came in as a PDF legalese, but it boiled down to, my property can't be accessed, listed, shown, or rented without my explicit written consent. Reimbursement signage, remove procedures, updated. I signed it. Lawyer buddy gave a thumbs up. A few days later, drove up, sign gone, arrow by the road gone. If you didn't know, you'd never guess anything happened. I checked the lock, stood on the porch, listened to the wind. HOA president emailed one more time, hoped we could move forward. I didn't reply. Neighbors went back to normal, some waved, some didn't. One asked if everything was resolved. I just said mostly. Now every time I leave, even for a quick run, I lock the gate. Sometimes even when I'm home. Not for safety, for control. What sticks with me isn't the renters or the lock or the money. It's how easy it was for them, how quick people are to decide something isn't really yours if you're not right there. I doubt they'll try it again, but if they do, they know what's coming. So where do you draw the line? At what point does community become trespass? Ever had something taken because you weren't there to stop it? Share your story in the comments. Let's talk about what justice means when it's your name on the deed but someone else holding the keys.